For years, officers Gregory Calloway and Anthony Miller were the law in their precinct. Every traffic stop was a shakedown. Every complaint vanished into thin air. They ruled through fear, believing their badges made them untouchable. That arrogance finally met its match on a quiet afternoon when they harassed the wrong man. Malcolm Hayes, a black man walking his German Shepherd. When Malcolm dared to question their authority, their harsh words turned to threats, and their threats turned to violence. In a flash of panic and prejudice, Miller drew his gun. The crack of the shot echoed down the street, and Malcolm's loyal companion, Rex, lay dead at his feet. Handcuffed and tasered on the pavement next to his dog, a cold, calculating fury settled over Malcolm. The officers thought they had subdued another powerless victim. They had no idea they had just ignited a fuse attached to a human powder keg. Malcolm Hayes wasn't just a grieving dog owner. He was Delta Force, and his war for justice was about to begin. The system they were in was the same system that had protected Calloway and Miller for years. Internal investigations were closed with a wink. His complaint would be another file in a drawer. The officers would get a paid vacation, not a prison sentence. That night, in the deafening silence of his home, surrounded by Rex's toys and empty bed, the frozen knot of rage began to thaw and reshape itself into something else, a plan. They hadn't just killed his dog, they had declared war on a man trained to win them. Phase 1 was intelligence. Malcolm used skills honed in hostile territories to delve into the officers' lives. He found a history of buried complaints, paid-off accusers, and a pattern of targeting black men who showed any hint of defiance. He studied their routines. Calloway was a bully who liked to drink at a dive bar after his shift, believing himself a king in his small, grimy domain. Miller was more cautious, but unraveling, his nerves frayed by the first cracks in their impunity. Phase 2 was provocation. Malcolm staged his home to look like that of a broken man. He let them come to him. When they did, shoving their way inside without a warrant, their arrogance was their undoing. Hidden cameras captured every second of their unprovoked assault, the threats, the punches, the smug certainty that they would never be held accountable. Malcolm took the beating, each blow a down payment on their future suffering. Phase 3 was execution. He tracked Calloway to his favorite alley behind the bar. The attack wasn't a brawl, it was a surgical strike. In the dark, he became a ghost of vengeance, his words as damaging as his fists. "This is just the beginning. I'm going to take everything from you." He left Calloway broken and terrified, not just of the pain, but of the terrifying precision of it. He then orchestrated an unshakable alibi for Miller's beating, sipping whiskey in a crowded casino while Miller was being systematically dismantled in another alley. When the cops came for him, he offered no resistance. He wanted to be in that interrogation room, under the flickering fluorescent light across from Captain Holt. "You know why you're here," Holt stated, sliding photos of the beaten officers across the table. "Not a clue," Malcolm replied, his voice calm. "Where were you last night?" "The Bellagio. Casino floor. Main bar. The security footage will confirm it." He smiled, a cold, thin thing. "Funny how that works." Then Holt showed him the email. The damning footage of the home invasion had already been leaked. The storm had begun. As the station erupted into chaos around them, Malcolm looked the captain dead in the eye. "You should have picked better men." The public fallout was swift and absolute. The footage went viral. The department, scrambling to save itself, threw Calloway and Miller to the wolves. They were fired, disgraced, and became the faces of police brutality on every news channel. But Malcolm wasn't finished. Firing them wasn't justice, it was administrative housekeeping. He wanted them in a cage. He worked with Jasmine to file formal charges, unleashing the full mountain of evidence he had compiled. The trial was a spectacle. On the stand, Malcolm was a pillar of calm, devastating truth. He described Rex, their bond, the senseless violence. He didn't need to act. The raw, controlled pain in his voice was more compelling than any performance. The defense attorney tried to paint him as a vengeful, traumatized man. Would you say that trauma has influenced your perspective? My perspective doesn't change the facts, Malcolm replied, his gaze unwavering. You have the footage. When the prosecution played the body cam audio of the gunshot and Rex's collapse, the courtroom held its breath. Miller, when asked if he regretted it, muttered, "It was justified." The jury's hatred was palpable. The verdict was a foregone conclusion. Guilty on all counts, the sentence was 25 years without parole. As the judge pronounced their fate, Calloway sank forward, his head in his hands. Miller simply stared into the middle distance, his arrogance finally, completely shattered. They were led away in shackles. Their reign of terror ended not by the system they corrupted, but by the one man they'd underestimated beyond all measure. Weeks later, Malcolm stood before a simple headstone in a quiet cemetery. The wind rustled the leaves of a nearby oak. "Hey, boy," he began, his voice soft. He crouched, running his fingers over the engraved letters. "Rex, loyal to the end. It's done." He let the silence hang for a moment. "I made them pay, Rex. I didn't just get justice, I took them apart." He described the meticulous plan, the fear in their eyes, the finality of the cell door slamming shut. They're going to rot in a cell for the next 25 years, waking up every morning knowing exactly who put them there. He sighed. The cold fury finally spent, leaving behind a hollow ache of grief. "I miss you," he whispered. Placing a worn photograph of Rex beside the stone, he stood up. The sun was beginning to set, painting the sky in hues of orange and purple. For the first time since the shot rang out, the world was quiet. The war was over. With one last look at the headstone, Malcolm Hayes turned and walked away, finally allowing himself to just be a man who missed his dog.